Welcome to Elevate and Innovate, Tech-Infused Back to School Strategies for Educators, Navigating the New Normal, Episode 8. My name is Krystle Pearson, and I'm your host for today, and I am so excited to have my friends, Lois and Alex here. They are the tech dynamic duo. I love these guys. I'm so excited to have you here with me today. And we're going to jump right on into the presentation.
I'm very excited to be here, Krystle. I really can't wait to discuss some EdTech and how to start the school year off on a strong note.
Absolutely. It's so great to see you as well, Krystle.
Yes, I think the last time we saw each other was at ISTE. So it's been quite some time. So I'm excited that we're able to come here today and to talk a little bit about EdTech and all things technology. So I'm going to talk a little bit about your background first, Lois, and then I'll give you a chance to kind of share any additional information that you like to share, okay?
Sure.
All right. So Lois is an educational technology coach at Long Branch Public Schools in New Jersey, with 7 years in that role and 21 years in education. Holding degrees from Miami University and Rutgers University, she began as a sixth grade teacher and taught math across various grades. Lois focuses on integrating diverse EdTech platforms to enhance teaching quality and student learning, collaborating closely with teachers, students, and administration. She strives to offer an effective professional learning by pursuing certifications and ambassadorships. Committed to lifelong learning, her aim is to keep students engaged and prepared for the future through innovative educational approaches. So that's just a little bit of what Lois does. I feel like there's so many more things. Is there anything else you'd like to share, Lois, about your background that you think that those who are viewing our presentation would be interested in knowing about you?
I think just, having been in education now and just seeing the way that education has evolved over time has been exciting, as well as helping me transform how I can teach and help others be teachers. So I'm just looking forward to today and being a part of this with both Alex and with you.
Awesome. We're going to head on over to Alex. Alex is also an educational technology coach at Long Branch Public Schools, and he brings 9 years of teaching experience. Through the pandemic, he extensively researched and adopted effective EdTech platforms to cater to hybrid and remote learning. Alex's commitment to creating accessible, engaging content drove him to stay updated on cutting-edge technology. Formerly a middle school math teacher, Alex fosters connections with diverse students, building a safe and inclusive environment. Utilizing tools like Wakelet, Moat, Edpuzzle, and Nearpod, he facilitates formative assessments for student engagement. Alex has led professional learning sessions while connecting math groups with other classes. His dedication to empowering teachers and students through EdTech, seeking innovative ways to integrate technology across subjects, is just amazing, I think. He eagerly anticipates his inaugural year as an EdTech coach starting this September. So not only do we have some great things to share about Alex, but we also want to say congratulations. That is awesome. Is there anything else you'd like to share, Alex, before we jump right into our presentation?
Just that I feel like not too long ago, I was not really skilled in EdTech, these strategies that we're going to talk about today. So I encourage everybody to kind of start small and then kind of build your way up, take some time to find some platforms you're passionate about. And then I'm sure that it'll trickle down onto your colleagues and your students. So hopefully everybody who's tuning in today can really take something away to incorporate into their own practice.
Awesome. Let's jump right into the first question. Before we start this, I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about, because you just mentioned that I think that when the pandemic happened, we started using technology in some of the most innovative ways. And of course, we use Zoom and we use Teams, but we started using breakout rooms and we started using more screen sharing and annotating. And our students also started taking ownership over those experiences as well, which kind of brings me to our smart selection question. So let's talk a little bit about how educators can evaluate their students' learning needs, because we know that learning changes from year to year, from student to student, and how they can select those essential EdTech tools to amplify those experiences as they're starting the school year. And we're going to kick it off to Alex. Let's do it, Alex, first.
Okay, sure. So, for me, being a former math teacher, I was always looking for platforms that allowed me to give feedback in real time. So for me, I would be actually using my EdTech tools to assess my students and then develop that understanding of where are the skills, where are the needs, where are the preferences, what are my students into, and then kind of tailor my platform selections based on that. I've also been the type of teacher who is offering surveys to my students to get a better idea of who they are and their experience with different types of EdTech platforms, where if they tell me they prefer one over another, especially in the gamified type of websites that I like to incorporate, I'm using that to inform myself to say, okay, I might focus more on these types of apps that might allow my learners to share their knowledge and understanding in a way that is comfortable for them.
Absolutely. Lois, what about you?
So for myself in my role, being as a tech over the years and, going through the pandemic with teachers and then afterwards, during the pandemic, it was a big transition, being at home and then helping out teachers. So I was at home right here, working with teachers and helping them how they can help evaluate their students. And then once we got back into the classroom, it kind of continued. So one of the big platforms that we were using in the elementary level was Seesaw. And, we have Seesaw for Schools, and that really helped teachers work with students to understand their learning and be able to differentiate and personalize. And that was like a big part, in my role, is helping teachers not to make the same lesson and the same activities for every student, but realizing that students all have different needs and how to tap into that. And so for Alex and I, we look at different tech platforms and how can those tools and platforms help teachers help those students to personalize and differentiate, because that's where they eventually do see the growth that they're looking for. Doesn't matter what content that they're teaching.
It's interesting that I can remember being a classroom teacher. My background is classroom teacher, ITRT, as well as director of technology for a school district. And I remember being so excited about back to school. And I had a lesson that I planned out. It was ready to go. And one of my team teachers, she said, I think you should water it down a little bit. And I'm like, what do you mean water it down? Like, this is a great resource. This is a great tool. She was like, I just don't know. And I started using the resource with my students and they struggled. And for me, it was like, oh my gosh, this is great. I want them to get there and to understand it. But I had to kind of make some adjustments. So I don't really believe in watering it down, but I do believe in smart selection of user-friendly applications for students so that your little learners can have that same integrated experience without having to give up their resource of being able to use that technologies independently.
And Krystle, I also think about, we could also almost add into this question emotional needs, because I feel like, especially with our older students, high school, middle school, how comfortable they are raising their hand to ask a question in front of their friends. I'm always trying to, as well as Lois, we're always trying to select tools that will allow communication between teachers and students to take place in real time, where there's those lower stakes types of opportunities for students where they don't feel so put on the spot. I mean, I was always trying to be mindful, even complimenting students sometimes in the middle school years. They might not want that type of recognition. So giving those tools that allow communication, maybe via text or audio from, remote positions or in the classroom, I feel like that's also a great strategy to keep in mind, especially with our older students in the country right now.
And also, Alex, too, I was thinking where even with Nearpod and other platforms like that, where when they're sharing their answers, I love the fact that teachers can remove the names. Mm-hmm. And so it does give that comfort level. Okay, even if I make a wrong answer and my answer's up there, and they're not going to know that that's me that's providing that wrong answer. So I feel like a lot of tech platforms now have kind of developed, those type of aspects in their platforms in order to make it a little bit more of a safer and comfortable environment for students to share. Because it does, as students get older, they become a lot of times more fearful to share an answer because they don't want to be embarrassed in front of their peers.
Absolutely. Let's move on to our second question, which we're going to talk about seamless integration. And where we're thinking about making those fiscally sound decisions for districts because of budgetary restrictions and or needs, and incorporating those new EdTech solutions. What are some things that teachers should keep in mind when they are taking those resources that are new and incorporating them into their existing curriculum? And I want to specifically talk about budget in this sense, because I know that they are, in my experience, I've seen great resources and great tools, and teachers want to use them, but the budget may not be there for the district. So what are some things or some ways that you can give suggestions to teachers to keep that in mind, but still being able to incorporate those EdTech solutions?
Well, you talk about, having a budget, some EdTech tools being highly expensive. One of the things that I would be considering, if it's a similar pricing between various EdTech platforms, are the platforms offering nurturing PD opportunities, professional learning opportunities throughout the school year? Is that built into the pricing, or are the EdTech specialists, the tech coaches, the tech liaisons at the different schools going to be expected to really build that anticipation, build the buy-in that's going on between the teachers and students? So I really do feel like, in order to have a strong buy-in with a platform, have a school really use it, have kids into it, I feel like you have to have those nurturing professional learning opportunities. And that's something to really keep in mind as you're differentiating between different EdTech tools.
Absolutely. Go ahead,
And I
Liz.
also look at the learning curve along with that. So depending on, if we're purchasing a platform, and doesn't matter if it's a big cost or a small cost, as Alex is saying, are the teachers and students are going to use it? And we look at, well, what's the learning curve of getting to know that platform? And if it's a tough one where there's a lot to it, where already in the very beginning, teachers may feel a little bit overwhelmed, even in situations where maybe a platform has a lot to it, starting off small and just doing a few things in that platform to get comfortable and then kind of build from that. But we always look at that learning curve of starting off small. And then, what's great about in our role is that we are able to work with teachers and students and then be able to go into PLCs and faculty meetings and to work with them and say, okay, now let's try this part of the platform for this month and see, how we can incorporate that. And then so just building it little by little, I think that builds that comfort level. And then that will kind of help to factor in, okay, well, do we keep this for next school year? Or do we find that, there's not enough teachers and students using this? Maybe we need to try something that teachers have been using, the free version, for example, and have really been liking the free part of a platform, and then kind of going from there to take it to that next level.
And you think about it on a larger scale. My previous district that I worked in, we would do professional development, but it was more so on a conference style PD type professional development. And you had some sessions that were mandatory, but it gave teachers the autonomy to go in and pick what was best for them, what was the best fit for them. And I think that, when our students come back to school, the first thing we say is, okay, let's talk about those skills that you learned last year, your previous year. But as educators, we have to always remember that it's critical for us to have those refreshers as well. So whether you're going back and checking out new features, because there's always a new feature for every tech tool from 1 month to the next. It's like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that you could do that. And some of those new features are so critical that they could simplify a lesson for teachers. So that is something too that I think having that skills refresher and making sure that you go back and look at those professional development opportunities that are offered from the company as well as through your district.
And you can also keep it simple. Do you enjoy using it? Do your kids enjoy using it? Does it align to your curriculum? Does the EdTech platform allow you to do something that you previously could not do? And then if we're really going out into other aspects of choosing platforms, for me, is it helping build the connection with my students between the content in them? And is it also allowing me to provide some sort of visual, some connection between my students' families, their guardians? Can this tech tool build that homeschool connection as well? These are all different types of more maybe ancillary at that point, but a tech tool that allows for effective communication between educators and parents and guardians, that's going to keep everybody on the same page and allow that more harmonious homeschool connection to take place. So all of the above would be great ideas to kind of keep in mind as you're selecting tech tools to go into a new school year.
I always suggest making friends with your ITRT and your tech coach, because those are the people that when you are having those issues with a lesson, or you need that additional, hey, have you seen this? Have you heard that? Because I can remember for me, prior to becoming a technology director, of course, I was instructional technology resource teacher, and I did not understand why, if it was SOL aligned, because I was from a district in Virginia, why can't I use this resource? And it wasn't until I became an IT, more on the IT side, that I realized there are some security ramifications that fall behind some of those resources. There are some things that the IT side has to make sure is in place. So it's always good as teachers to have that merge partnership with your technology coach and your ITRTs to kind of talk to those things, because they can see it from the instructional side as well as the IT side and help you to make some of those decisions when you're incorporating those new tools into your curriculum.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we also look at, if it's FERPA and COPPA and so on compliant, because that is important to make sure that students are safe and that their information is safe as well. So, that's a big key that we always look at anytime we're evaluating any tech platform.
Awesome. We're going to head over to our next one. This is near and dear to my heart, device compatibility, because when the pandemic hit, we sent devices home. Districts became one-to-one through funding sources. And even when you think about some of the strategies that were used, we want to think about well-informed practices for making sure that we don't revert back to not using those devices. So thinking about educators, what are some strategies that you believe that they can employ to remain well-informed about the latest EdTech trends, as well as integrate those must-have back-to-school tools, specifically suitable for Chromebooks? Because I've noticed, just in my experience with a lot of districts, even districts that we work with here at Kajeet, a lot of districts are using the LTE embedded Chromebooks, or those Chromebooks where they can, be on the go for connectivity. So what are some strategies you think educators can employ to remain informed about those tools and trends?
Lois, you want to start this one? Go ahead.
Sure. So one is obviously staying current with what is the big platforms and tools that are in education, and they're making a difference that teachers are enjoying and students are enjoying, that are going to really enhance learning. For myself, each year I do provide a survey to the district, and everybody completes it. I even have one for students where they do a survey as well, so I can kind of see, what tools and platforms that they enjoy using and how comfortable they are. But with the survey to the teachers and administrators, it helps us kind of get a pulse of, okay, what's working, what's maybe not working, and also what is something that they hope, to have in the future that we don't currently have. And so with the survey results, because we have about 10 schools in our district, and from preschool to high school, it kind of gives us that overview picture of what is happening and how we can move forward. So the survey really helps. And in that survey, not only do we ask about the different tools, but we're also trying to see about how we can better serve them and what kind of professional development do they still need and are looking for. Because a lot of times, the year goes so fast and there's only so many PD days or professional learning days that are available. And so trying to fit that in and trying to be creative in ways that is going to help integrate the tools for them. We have to kind of be creative in that way too, and how we're providing the professional development. But I know as far as, having the tools, that is important, and making sure that it is available for students when they go to class. And, obviously things happen to Chromebooks, and making sure that we're able to have that for them no matter where they're going.
And for me, it's, I've shared with so many different people how much I attribute my career path, the growth that I've experienced to my professional learning network, getting onto socials, sharing ideas, gaining new ideas, joining groups of like-minded individuals who will challenge me, make me a better EdTech specialist, make me a better math teacher back in the day. So for me, I'm hopping onto socials, joining groups, joining EdTech communities in the form of ambassadorships, or becoming certified on those, joining the community forums, sharing ideas, and really, something specific to more about Chromebook usage. What are the most, recent advancements in those devices? Get into a global educator, a Google educator group. Get into your states, join a global one, get those, experts sharing exactly what is brand new this school year with different types of devices, so that you're more informed. But I can't recommend enough to everybody, whichever platform you choose, choose one social media platform, be passionate with what you share, take a look at some of the stuff that interests you and form a group of people that is going to inspire you to do new things, to incorporate new ideas. And I would ensure you that, me by scrolling through X now and Instagram occasionally and LinkedIn has given me some ideas to really build off of. And you're always up to date on the latest trends when you follow those EdTech platforms. So I really am passionate about forming that group of people that can be supportive and share ideas with and collaborate with, that's something that's going to really allow you to have a much better idea of the effective devices and platforms and tools to implement with your students, your colleagues.
I couldn't agree with you more, Alex. I'm sorry, Krystle.
Okay, Lois, go. You got it.
No, I'm just saying that, I think for both Alex and I, having that professional learning network and family has really made us grow as educators and also in our role, because you being in constant communication and building those relationships across the world has really opened our eyes as to what's out there and be able to make that connection and be able to see how we can better ourselves and our district. So I agree with you, Alex, by being a part of, whether it's on X or on Facebook or Instagram, finding those groups in the platforms and be able to share and learn has only made us better educators.
Absolutely. And, I think about, when you think about the strategies component, one of the things that I can remember being I had to have, and I didn't realize I needed until we were deploying devices, was making sure that I kept a great tracking system, inventory system, making sure that I use those organizational units as students were coming in and out of the district, reassigning those to the appropriate organizational units, because for some districts, seamless integration can be, going back to that question, seamless integration can be making sure that the right students are in the right organizational unit to get the right applications that's compatible with their device. There's so many things that kind of go into play to make sure that works well for educators, and so that they can have those in place. Even single sign-on, if districts aren't currently using single sign-ons, I always think that is a great tool to have, because that kind of helps students, especially your younger learners, to get into those applications without having to remember 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 passwords. I struggle now as an adult to remember my password sometimes. So I do think that, considering that, those are some strategies as well to integrate with those back to school tools. And if you're, thinking about those things that are going to make the use of Chromebooks a little bit more effective.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we have ClassLink that we use in our district, and it really does save a lot of time and headache for the students and teachers when they want them to go onto a certain platform. They're just able to go on right away.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, we're going to head over to my favorite question. I saw Alex smile, so I feel like this is the one we've been waiting for. All right. So, we were talking about X earlier, and I have to share that between Alex and Lois, they have a close to 10,000 followers between the two of them on X. I'm not tooting horns, but if you're not following them, there's going to be a slide at the end where you can go and do that, which allows me to know that they are really, really well invested and know a lot about tech tools. So I have to pick your brain as we're heading back to school. What are your recommended must-have, can't live without, you need it, if you haven't used it, go look for it, tech tools that educators should consider incorporating for this upcoming school year?
I can talk to it from a creative perspective.
Okay.
This is a tough question, Krystle, because my goodness, Lois and I are so loyal to so many different platforms, some that are direct competitors. So we did our best to kind of narrow it down, and we listed a little blurb underneath each of our choices in the Wakelet that you're going to share later. Absolutely. But as far as on the creativity aspect, my must-haves are Adobe Express, Book Creator app, and Canva. You can throw Wakelet in there for the creative aspect, but also for that, curation of content, providing resources to others. But for us, we've really made a push this year to highlight all that Adobe, Canva, and Book Creator app, and those creative avenues, those creative opportunities can offer our students and our teachers. So those are the three as far as offering those creative opportunities, weaving in those types of activities cross-curricular, those are the 3, 4 that I would highly recommend, and I'm sure Lois is on board as well. But in addition to that, we also have some great choices for formative assessment too.
And for myself, exactly what Alex said, like those are one of our favorite tools, especially for the creative side. For me, I really also love Seesaw because we do have Seesaw for schools, and we also have the Seesaw lessons. But over the years using that, especially in the elementary level, it really has allowed teachers to differentiate and also be able to provide small group instruction as well as stations, and it gives them that easy access. And also what I love about Seesaw is that teachers, not only can they differentiate, but they're able to provide feedback to their students, whether it's a voice recording, a typed out message, be able to share it with parents. My own son, he had Seesaw when he was in elementary school, and then I would get a message that he had shared something, and then I'd be able to respond back to him. So that was that great connection between home and school. And then of course with Wakelet, we just love Wakelet because it has been our go-to platform for curating any type of resource that we want to share out, whether it's for teachers, for students, for platforms like this. We were doing MoatCon and just being able to share out what we had. So that has been a great part it's like our go-to that we use, because we can also incorporate Canva and Adobe and all those other platforms that we have been so passionate about.
And speaking of MoatCon, I was lucky enough to host a session. Lois was there with me. We co-presented. Moat is such a great tool to build that connection with your students, their families, because you have built-in transcription and translation options. So, being in a district with many emerging bilingual learners, and at my previous school having the same population, Moat was something that I was heavily relying upon to give academic progress updates, tell jokes to my kids every now and again when we were in the remote phase of learning, where I was trying to just build that connection, have them hear my voice. So Moat is something that I'm very passionate about. And then you can throw in some other formative assessment tools like Nearpod and quizzes. So these are all ones that we have in our tech toolbox. I want to say almost purchased each of the ones that we listed. If you had to purchase them to get those licenses, I know Canva and Adobe Express offer their platforms for free. But, just really passionate about promoting that group of tech tools that we feel is going to offer time-saving techniques for our teachers and also build upon that more meaningful learning experiences for our students. I feel like that's something that when we curated this tools list, we really tried to keep that in mind of stuff that was going to make the learning more meaningful for our students while drawing real-world connections and offering those creative opportunities.
And I feel too, Alex, it gives us a variety in the toolbox that we're providing to the teachers. Yes. So now we have this toolbox of, okay, here are some great platforms that you can use for formative assessments or for that creativity. And so depending on what they're doing in the classroom, it's then connecting with the teachers. Okay, let's figure out the end result. And then let's figure out, is there a tool and which one would be best for them to use in order to get to their end results?
I used to host a professional development session, and it was entitled "What's in Your Digital Toolbox?" And it was great because it was interesting to see students, how their toolboxes were so different. They were all working towards the same goal of student success and, course completion, but everyone's toolbox was so different. It was really cool because we had like a little virtual toolbox, and they would all drop in their different resources and things that they were using. And then, you would borrow some out of someone else's toolbox. But it was interesting to say that. But I always say, as far as Adobe and Canva, I am just here for the remove background, because that when they quit that, listen, that was clutch. So I enjoy that, being able to do that, especially for students, and they love having a picture where it's like a family photo and then the family disappears and it's just you, and it's like, oh wow, so it's very, very cool. And I think even as adults, sometimes we have those times where someone says, hey, can you send me an image, and you're trying to figure out what's the best image, but you can put yourself at the beach. Alex is riding the wave right now. There are so many things that you can do with those tools and those resources. And I love when educators use tech tools and students are having so much fun that they don't even realize they're learning in the process. That to me is golden. So Thank you all so much for sharing those. So here on the screen, we have the Wakelet that Lois and Alex have created. We are so excited. It's titled Navigating the New Normal Back to School Collection, Kajeet plus Wakelet. So thank you so much. I have this QR code here. So those that are going to go back and look at our on-demand recording, please be sure to scan the QR code and it will take you directly to that, as well as when we share this on social media, we will do a direct link to that as well. As we wrap up, we want you to stay connected. Remember, I mentioned that combined almost 9,000 to 10,000 followers on X. So if you are not in that number, please go and follow Lois, Alex, as well as myself on X. We are excited to connect and continue to build our PLN. I am so glad that you all were able to join me today. ISTE was too long ago, even though it was like a couple of months, to be able to see you again. So I'm so glad that we were able to connect and have this conversation today. Is there anything else you all would like to share with our listeners before we log off?
Just an absolute pleasure to talk tech. I put it in a tweet, I think, promoting this. I was saying that it's always a great time to be able to talk tech with EdTech leaders and to be a part of this webinar with you, Krystle. We appreciate the invite. We were happy to share some ideas, and hopefully the many people who watch are able to take something away to make their school year start off on a little bit more of a stronger note.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And there you have it, Navigating the New Normal, episode 8. We are excited. We hope that everyone has a great school year and stay tuned for our next episode coming up soon.